Aloha. Hey, it's Julie Ziemelis, 365 with Real Broker, and I'm with my wonderful husband, my teammate, Eric Ziemelis today with 365 Hawaii Group. And I'm also happy to have Joe Egan from Wen Egan Group bringing us a really great update in terms of what's happening with the mortgage rates and the financing aspect. And then I've got Janna Mahoney with KW Big Island, and she is with, she'll be actually giving us an update on what's happening with the North Kohala market. And we've got the effervescent Amber Haley from Real Broker as well, giving us the update on what's going to happen with the East Hawaii market. And we are welcoming in my friend Kevin, who's sitting here just right now. So this show's for you, Kevin. But we are missing a few people today. We're missing Delania and Lance, but they'll come back next month. So what we're going to basically do is we're going to talk a little bit about North Hawaii, give you kind of an update, a little bit what we know about West and then East, and then give you the mortgage update. And if you are wanting to ask some questions, please do so. If you are on YouTube land, please make sure that if you do have questions for any of us, to drop them in the comments below, and we'll get back to you when we can. Or you can sign up and be with us live by going to 365hawaiiliving.com and joining the Ohana. If you're not already using the Realtor, because we want your business. But you can get into these Facebook groups and learn more and get to be on the live show. So with that, let us start. Actually, Janna, how you feeling? You want to do a little what's happening there in the old Kohala area and the Waikoloa region?
Sure. So let's start with the Waikoloa Village in Monolani. And right now there are 33 listings in that TMK that are residential. And for, let's see, they range from $585,000, and that is a fixer upper deluxe. It really is. I saw the pictures of that, and it needs a lot of work. And up to $32 million. So an average or a median doesn't really mean anything, because the $32 million, of course, is a luxury residential property that's down at Monolani. And let's see, in the condos in that same area, there are, oops, that's houses again. Hang on one second. I'm not as ready as I should be, I think. Let me pull up condos, because I printed this out, but I think I printed residential twice.
I wanted to get Janna's input on what's going on in the condo market, because at least in our area in Kona, the condo market dropped 52% year over year in terms of sales, and has become quite soft because of the problem with the insurance rates causing HOA units to expand, how much they have to pay every month. So I'm just wondering what's going on in your market on that.
I've had several of my clients who purchased investment properties down in the Monolani and the Waikoloa resort areas who've told me that their insurance premiums have gone way up. And it's not just the insurance premiums, it's also the HOA that's gone up, because the HOA's insurance has gone up. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a double whammy. We do have 33 condos right now in the both Waikoloa and Monolani, and lowest is $399. Let's see where that one is.
Yeah, where's the $399,000 condo?
It's a 1-bedroom in Fairway Terrace. So yeah, it's really cute though. I've seen it. And the highest one is $3,950,000, and that is the one that's in Kolea.
Oh, that's
expensive. So it's it's got the magnificent ocean views and $80,000 worth of artwork and that kind of thing. So you've got, both extremes in that area. Mm-hmm. Let's see, 369. Let's look at those condos. So 369 is the Waikoloa Resort. So what I said before was Waikoloa Village, or which is, mainly residential, but we do have some condo complexes. Down in Waikoloa Resort right now, there are 28 active listings.
Now, how's that normal? Is that like
that's more than we've had. That's okay. More than we had. I can go back and look up and see what we had this time last year. But the days on market right now is, the average is 71. And the highest one that's been on there is 220 days. And again, I think if you did a graph of how many days on market they've been compared to, the average square foot or some kind of measurement like that, the higher priced a house is, the longer it's going to stay on the market, always, or typically. unless it's just priced right. So you can expect the more expensive ones to stay on the market longer. However, if you price it right, even the ones that are in the lower price condos are going to sell very quickly. And so we've gotten a lot more days on market than we had before. Which is
Now, is that because sellers are still believing that they should be able to command top dollar for their properties? Did they get the memo?
I do see a lot more price reductions now, and I think that it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow for sellers to say, "Oh gosh, I missed that high point." But I think that they did. I think that the prices are starting to trend down, and sometimes it takes people a while to accept that and to lower their prices a little bit. And so you see like these gradual, we're going to drop it at 5,000. Okay, we're going to drop it 10,000. Okay, now, so it's like. It just sits there if it's not.
Right.
That's kind of been the expectations. So, again, things are still selling quickly. I was watching one that I thought was a good deal and boom, it was gone. So, it's still happening quickly. If you have a good realtor who knows what the market is and knows what things are selling for, then they'll have you on it quickly. So the nice thing is all of us can put our buyers on a drip so that if it's like, okay, I'm going to watch in Puako. I want a house in Puako. So what we can do is put our buyers on an email that as soon as something comes up in Puako, they immediately get it. If there's a price decrease, they immediately get it. And so that, you have to make haste. You have to run down there and look at it as soon as possible.
And also, Janna, I think that a lot, because we actually have someone who's looking at White Cohala Village. She sees it. She's like the first person. As soon as it hits, she's on it. Look, is it good? Is it good? It's kind of like, a little picky. But I do believe that people who are desperately trying to buy a house in Hawaii are watching the market like a hawk, and they don't want to pay too much. And so they're becoming very well schooled in understanding what the values are as well, because they've been watching it for a long time. I see a lot of those kinds of buyers. And we'll find out from Joel in a second. I do think people are thinking that I don't want to buy at the top and what's going to happen with the interest rates. But when they do see something that fits what they've been looking for, and maybe it might not be completely perfect, I think people are saying, you know what, I know that I have to jump in on this, because at the end of the day, we still are kind of short on some inventory, right?
Right. And we do have a few fixer-uppers. If there's somebody who's interested in a fixer-upper, like a couple of these have some vandalism, and they're going to need pretty much a complete overhaul or redo. But we do have houses like that are starting to pop up here and there if somebody's interested in that. And typically those are obviously at the bottom end of the price range as well.
Right.
So, there is that. So where we're looking at residential. Okay. Speaking of Puako, there are now 7 houses in Puako and the Waikoloa area. So that's nice. And they range from 2.599 to 28 million. And condos, there are 28 right now. So those range from 869 to 3,975,000. Oh, we already did that one. Okay. So the next one sorry about that. The next one I wanted to do was the Kohala residential areas. So you have Kohala by the Sea, you have Kohala Ranch, all those that are right there on the tip top. And right now there are 7 in that area. They range from, where is that? Sorry, I usually have these labeled and I just didn't have time. Hang on, I'm just going to pull it up from scratch.
Are you getting people for requests for who want to live up in the Kohala Ranch area?
I have been showing up there recently.
Oh.
Yeah, so there has been a little bit of activity up there. And typically what I'm seeing right now is cash buyers in that market. Okay, so here we go. There's 5. There's 5 up there. So this is Kohala Ranch, Kohala Kai, and Kohala by the Sea. And the lowest price is $2,100,000 and the highest is $3,995,000. And I've looked at all of them, and it's they have magnificent views, every one of them.
Yeah, the Kohala area. Yeah.
So they're really nice. And then let's see, the last one I wanted to share with you guys was Dry Side Waimea. What's going on up there? Because I know that's an area that a lot of people are interested in with all the schools and everything up there. And there are 4, so that's still not very many in Waimea.
Yeah, well, it's better than 0 there was a couple months ago.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's what I was saying in the Lokahi Kai that I think that Delania usually looks at. I look at that a lot too. And it has 0 for sale right now. It had 2 last month and they are both contingent. So that's another one of the ones that if it's priced right, it's going to sell.
Yep.
Same thing. So the 4 up in Kohala Ranch and the Kohala by the Sea range from $1,095,000, which seems like a really good deal on that one, up to $3,275,000. So we've got kind of a range up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, since Janna knows that market pretty well, if you guys want to get specific what's on the market, she can also send you one of those listing alerts and you can get everything all at the same time. As all of us can do that, Amber and Eric and I. So that way, if you are just joining us and you're just deciding that maybe moving to Hawaii is a big thing for you and you know what your price range is and where you want to live, we have we can actually give you exactly what's on the market and even including the preview ones that might not have been, haven't hit the open market yet. So one of the things about working with realtors is that we do have access maybe for a few days, maybe a day or so on houses that quite aren't to the Zillows of the world yet and might give you a little bit of a competitive advantage. So that's another value of working with a realtor, especially with us because we rock.
Yeah. So just to put in a plug here too, I have a new listing up in Waikiki Ranch.
Oh.
And it is a lot, 675. It's 10 acres, and they have already done the work to site it. They've done the survey. They've got building plans with a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And so it's ready to start building. You can have your house done in less than a year up in Waikiki Ranch. It's very cool.
And that's a good one for anyone who has horses.
Right. Or cows or sheep or goats. All kinds of,
yeah. You want to do horses and animals? That's a good one for to be. Right. Okay. And then in terms of to wrap your area up, what do you think is important for buyers to know right now? Kind of give them a context of what's going on up there.
Well, it just seems to be there are a few more houses that are coming on the market, a few more condos. The condos are still moving here somewhat if they're priced correctly. And I think that what I'm seeing is probably a lot of activity with cash.
Cash.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Well, do you see multiple offers?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not that fast of a market.
No.
So Amber, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happening in your section of the world, and also when we finish, we'll do the context of what people need to know on both sides of those markets. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a couple of the districts over here in East Hawaii. We'll start with the South Hilo district, and this is all Lava Zone 3, by the way. So the prices in Hilo are always a little bit higher, generally speaking, as far as median value goes, than the Puna district, which is where most of the transactions in East Hawaii take place. So we're starting with South Hilo, and the median price for all the single family homes that closed in the last full month of sales, which was 19 single family homes, was $595,000. And that is an increase from where we were the month before when we had this market update when the median was at 510. So we went from 510 to 595. We did have less homes that sold this month than the month before. So there was kind of a slowdown in Hilo. And a year ago, the median values were at 539. So they're both up from last month and from a year ago. And as far as days on market, that's something I'm keeping an eye on, both for my buyers and for my sellers right now, because we have kind of seen the biggest slowdown over the last few months over on the east side as far as like days on market have gone. But in South Hilo right now, average days on market was 50 for those recent 19 single family home sales, which is less than we saw last month where it was 63. And a year ago, it was only 23 days on market, the same same month. So things are definitely slowed down from that as far as how fast the market's going. Of course, a lot of this is really dependent on list price and if the seller is like priced correctly as well. List to sales price for these were 97% list to final list price to the closing sales price there, which is interesting. I think that's the closest we've had to 100% in quite a while for the South Hilo district. So that's an interesting stat as well. It was 93.9% last month, and then a year ago it was close to list when things were selling really fast. It was close to 100% a year ago, but we're at 97.3% for South Hilo.
Can I ask you about that?
Yes.
Do you think it's because sellers are putting the prices more realistically to what the market's doing than before?
Yes, and I do think so. Also, Hilo, there's just a lot less sales there, so each one does kind of like count a little more and skew our data. But I do think that they are pricing and remember the final list of sales price also will include like those price reductions. So it would be an interesting stat if we had a way to calculate what the original list price to final sales price was. I'd be interested in comparing those stats. Maybe Lance could wizard a way to calculate that for us all. So yes, but probably because of those price reductions. I know I've reduced price on my most recent listing in Hilo. So
okay.
Yes. Price improved.
Price improvement.
Price improved. All right. So,
okay.
Now we'll talk about the Puna district. So, like I said, that there's usually like almost 3 times as many sales in Puna as there are in Hilo. And the last full month, we had 56 single family homes close. And the median sales price of those was $395,500. So that's $398,500. So under $400,000 for median price in the Puna district. 73 days was the average days on market and selling at 92.67% list to sales price. So if we look at the trends compared to the month before, we had 90 days on market. So things sped up a little bit as far as those homes that sold. And the median price the month before was $365,000. So it did go up a little bit for the Puna district. But this same time last year, the median price was $410,000.
Oh.
So we are down slightly from that for, again, single family homes. List to sales price a year ago was pretty similar. It was 94.7%. Things were selling a little bit closer to list price last month and a year ago when we look at the stats from where they are right now in the Puna district. I will say, I think that we are going to get more inventory. I've had my phone's been ringing from sellers in the Puna district a lot more this week than honestly, this week than any other week this entire year. With people getting ready to list in the next, I'd say 2 to 6 weeks. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I'm going to keep an eye on and see what if the market is in line with that, because I feel like a lot of the trends that we see, it usually really makes sense with what's going on. So we'll see. The most popular subdivision, Hawaiian Paradise Park, currently has 92 single family homes for sale, which is almost, I believe, very, very close to what we had a month ago for inventory. All Lava Zone 3, that's definitely the most popular neighborhood right now, in just that there's the most inventory and transactions. And you can get new construction for there's one brand new construction listed right now for $489,900. Went on the market a couple weeks ago. So under $500,000, you can still get a brand new construction in HPP.
Very cool. Okay, so then if you are considering buying right now, what we joked about, the houses are 8% off for sale, which so they're
yes, just about.
Yeah, so you can go in basically and have a kind of like a negotiation experience, some of the prices on these houses in the Puna district at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been sitting, there's some of these new constructions that I'm looking at have been sitting on the market over 100 days, even some of them over the 6-month mark. And you know, especially with new construction, after a while, a lot of those sellers get very, very motivated to get on to the next project. So I do see a lot of opportunity for buyers,
Mhm.
you know, interest rates aside. But for those who are in the market and especially wanting new construction, there's definitely some that are sitting where I think you can get a good amount of concessions from the seller.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, and you're not seeing anything it's going for multiple offer, even on a good deal at this point.
It's not the normal right now. I mean, I run into it occasionally, but not the normal.
Okay, interesting. It seems that again, it just seems across the board. It seems across the board in America that sellers are not cutting bait and running. Everyone's hanging because they probably can, because we talked about the fact that a lot of the houses have equity in their houses, and so people can sit and wait for 90, 100 days for their house to sell. Because if this was like, let's say the market that was like in 2007, well, all of a sudden everyone just starts dumping their houses on the market, then the prices really start to fall. This looks like the price of houses being held up by sellers saying, I'm not going to lose money on this house, damn it. So, so I think they might negotiate, but I don't think that, we're seeing people saying I'm cutting bait, and because, that's what usually starts really a market slowdown.
Yeah, I've seen sellers in East Hawaii, I think, who are getting kind of, especially the owner occupied, that are getting kind of fatigued of probably being on the market and have gone off market
Oh, they took it
temporarily
off.
to
Okay.
take it rest the listing and then go back on because they're, it gets probably hard to keep your house clean for showings and it's just not
Yeah.
selling tons of showings and not selling. So, yeah, and another thing that I'm noticing too, and as you guys know, there's a lot of turnover on the Big Island. People will move here for 2 years and then their situation changes, or island living's not for them, or they get a new job, or they're too far from the grandkids they decided, and so they move back. So I'm having a lot of people call me that bought in the last 1 to 3 years. And so for them, some of them bought when the market was very, very competitive and now it's slowed down a lot. And so the pricing, they're like, well, we don't want to be in the red. So they are really holding on to like a number,
Yeah.
and it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, we just got it under contract. We had a condo that was on the market for 5 months because the same thing. She got it just a couple of years ago, and she's like, "Oh, I don't want to lose money." And that's what the prerogative of sellers are. And then they, change. Then the right seller, the right person walks in and says exactly, "I want this house, and I'm willing to pay for it." That's what you wait for, right? So yeah. Okay. So thank you. We appreciate that. And Erica, because I know that Delaney usually does the 3 neighborhood experience. Do you want to touch on that? Do you have any information?
I can touch on that. Janna started on it, so let's start with the Lokahi Makai. First of all, there's 3 neighbors: Lokahi Makai, Pulani Estates, and Ali Ilani, the condominium complex. And the one that we'll get to is Ali Ilani. That's the interesting one. But Lokahi Makai only has 0 condos for sale this per time. They have 2 that were contingent, and the price range roughly was 969,000 and 989,000 were the 2 that went contingent, and one was on the market for 36 days and one went contingent on the first day. So that means somebody was really looking and they were able to get an offer and pretty quick for that one. So, and then we're Pulani Estates. I would say we're kind of coming into, we've been watching these for a while. This is kind of turning into a more normal market for there. At this point, they've got 2 active listings. They've got 4 contingents, and they sold 2 last month. So they have been kind of all over. And the cheapest one I see here is 949,000, and the most expensive one that sold recently was 1,049,000 for that one. So, and then the big news, of course, is Ali Ilani, and there are 14 active listings now. And this goes back to, we were talking about the insurance rates going up everywhere, and Ali Ilani got hit, and I'm sure that they were hit somewhere in the I think it was about $250 a month for each unit that's going to go up on there. So there was a lot of people that were right on the edge on this particular for this particular complex. So you're going to see a lot of sales, and it'll be interesting to see where these actually sell. With this many on the market, I think the prices should go down, is what we should see, to include that extra that extra money. I think the HOA fees are now somewhere right under $1,000 a month, and they were quite a bit cheaper before. So the cheapest condo there right now is at 480,000, and the most expensive is not actually a true condo because it's a double condo. So they put 2 together and trying to sell it as one, and that's 899. But the one underneath that with a regular single is 619 for those. So, and the one that went contingent was 90 days on the market. So that's definitely a long time. So it's interesting kind of looking at these units, month after month to see what's going on with them. And it's I'm curious to see what happens moving forward with all of these in raises of insurance for all the condominiums, and see where the, are the prices going to drop to kind of accommodate them, or where the numbers going to fall.
There you go. And we've seen this in some of the other complexes too. Can you, just because some people might just be tuning in and they don't know what the hell's going on, can you explain a little bit about the insurance problem right now?
Yeah. So two things that have started raising it. One is, of course, Florida's been getting hit with all kinds of hurricanes, which has been, causing the insurances to get hit pretty hard. And then with the Maui wildfires, we were able to, it definitely put Hawaii on the map, and there was a lot of money that needed to go out. And so the insurances really started looking at Hawaii, which they never did before. So we're looking at insurance rates on condominiums going on. This is on the complex, not the individuals. Anywhere from I think they were saying 300% to 1,000% increase in insurance. And part of the other thing that nobody was paying attention to is the fact that a lot of these condos were undervalued. They weren't. The replacement costs were much higher than they had been assuming, because nobody ever looked at them for years. So now we're catching up on both sides, and it's it's going to be a painful process for a little while till we kind of come to a neutral point again.
Right. And Eric and I were in a broker meeting today with Amber actually too. And the broker was talking about how important it is now for people who are thinking about buying condos to really look at the minutes of the condo association and the documents to figure out what kind of assessment might be coming up and how everything's being held in terms of, you guys, if you read the minutes, you can figure out kind of a story about what's going on. And then looking at the financials is important too. So sometimes your realtor might try and just hand you a pack of, they call them M1 docs, but it's really important to sit down with a realtor right now and look at those financials to see where they're going to be at before you buy.
And if you're buying a condo, you should definitely be aware. The answer is all condos are going up. So if the condominium complex you haven't looked at hasn't gone up, it will. And example, the one I was thinking about, Kona Coffee Villas gave about a week notice before they, raised the rates on everybody and said, here it is. So it's surprising on how quickly it happens. And, the trick is knowing it going into it, so you're kind of prepared, because it's, if you have a $300 increase in your HOA fees, that's pretty dramatic.
Right. Yeah. And we're going to talk to Joe about that and how that affects getting a mortgage too. But we're not trying to, scare people away from buying condos in Kona. What we do think, though, is that it's supposed to kind of like settle out where the insurance, it is not just one or two complexes. This is across a Hawaii state. So yeah, like Eric said, you can't just bounce around looking for the best deal of different complexes. It's happening across the board. So, we just wanted to be truthful and tell people this is a thing that's happening, and you can see it in terms of what's happening with the pricing, which could be a deal. The price of going down might actually offset the price that goes up with the HOA fees. So that's something to work out with a realtor and a mortgage broker as well. Is there anything else, Eric, that you want to talk about?
I was just going to say, what other thing that might be interesting is to keep an eye on is if, the price of condo HOAs have gone up, so dramatically, what's going to happen with single family houses? How's that going to affect her? If you're on the border of being able to afford a condo, but you could also afford a house, maybe you're going to flip over and go to a house, which might, push the housing market up, but the condo, slow the condo market down. So just, these are all things to be aware of and things to think about.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to jump over to Joe, who's going to give us more information about what the heck is going on with the mortgage market. And I'm going to make him the little spotlight guy, because he's the money man. So so tell us a little bit about what's going on with the rates, and tell us about what you think about it. Again, I know trends in future, and maybe we could talk a little bit about what it takes to qualify for a mortgage for a condo complex that just went up and you're trying to look for a mortgage.
Sure. Yeah. Now the HOA problem, that's happening everywhere. That's happening all over the country, not only in Hawaii, right?
Okay.
Most, unfortunately, condo master policies where the HOA covers the exterior of their property are underinsured, right? And that kind of, when everything collapsed on the condominium complex in Florida, that was kind of their aha moment, like, oh crap, not only is this complex underinsured, but so are many others throughout the country. So that's really affecting a lot of people. So that is something that we are keeping an eye on. And to your point, Julie, I mean, if you're purchasing in a condo complex, you should be reviewing the budget. It's something from a lender standpoint that we review to make sure that we protect our collateral when we're going to finance a condo complex, right? So if you ever have any questions, concerns, obviously get with your agent, but also get with your lender too, because I'm going to be looking at the same information that the borrowers are going to be looking. They're going to be looking at it to protect themselves. And from a lender standpoint, we're going to be looking at it to protect our collateral, right? So that is something that I'm more than happy to help and take a look at anybody that has something that they just don't know what they're looking at or what they're looking for. Just send it over to myself and I can take a look at it and walk you through it.
Yeah, we'll look on that one. Most people who are buying a condo, especially for most of the people who buy them for the first time, do not know what a reserve study is, and they don't know all the stuff. So yeah, you show them a piece of paper and they're looking at a bunch of numbers and they're like, I don't know, whatever. And so that's going to be a very important thing right now. And thank you for being the resource to help people actually go through that and understand it, because it's
totally
important. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been looking at them since 2006. So I totally get it's a lot of different information. And again, it can be very confusing, but just high level, I can take a look at it and tell you within minutes what we're looking at. So now, mortgage update, an interest rate update, right? There is some light at the end of the tunnel. We've had some favorable inflation numbers over the last couple of reports. Unfortunately, we've had some higher employment come in, higher employment than what we were expecting. And we just had the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, come out and say, well, they had the inflation target number of 2%. They wanted to hit 2% in inflation. We've been trending down in inflation, and he just came out a week to two weeks ago that we don't necessarily need to hit the 2% target for us to start cutting rates. So that kind of pivoted everybody to kind of having an optimistic view of the Fed meets again in July, end of July, here in about 2 weeks. They're not going to do anything with the rates at that point. That's very kind of anticipated. However, when they meet again in September, I don't know if you guys remember, I'm going to toot my own horn here for a minute, because I even said this is going to be recorded on this meeting. But I think 3 months ago, I said, for sure, I am banking on the Fed cutting the rates in September. And now all eyes are on that September meeting, and everybody's kind of anticipating that the Fed will cut the rate in September. Now, it's not going to be anything dramatic, but then we're going to be headed in the right direction. Also note that when the Fed cuts the rates, that's not a direct correlation to mortgage rates. It is not. However, but the thing to know for being on this meeting is what I want everybody to anticipate is usually mortgage rates will kind of start pricing it in ahead of the Fed meeting. So if the Fed is going to cut the rates in September, that's not going to affect mortgage rates in September. That's going to affect mortgage rates leading up to that meeting, right? So as bonds start pricing or selling better, right, that's going to lead up to mortgage rates anticipating the Fed cutting the rate in September. So my guess would be end of August, early September, leading up to the meetings. If we get any indication, hopefully we get some more communication at the July meeting, right, that will indicate that there is going to be a cut in 2024. Everybody's anticipating it's going to be September. And if we get the verbiage that we're looking for at the end of July, I would anticipate August and September starting to see it's getting better.
Okay, so what you're talking about, we're talking about a quarter of a point.
Yeah, well, the Fed's going to cut their Fed's funds rate by 0.25%.
Okay.
That's what everybody's anticipating anyways. I can't tell you that for sure, but that's what everybody's anticipating.
Okay. And then are you still kind of feeling the same way you did before about maybe coming into early 2025, things getting even better, maybe?
Correct. Yeah, I anticipate it's going to be a slow evolution, right? Everybody is kind of anticipating there's going to be 4 rate cuts in 2025 and then more to come in 2026. I truly believe that mortgage rates in 2026, we'd be looking at 4.5% to 5%. And I think that's going to be the new norm, which will help, right? So I do anticipate 4 rate hikes or rate cuts in 2025.
Okay. Okay. So that's good. So,
Yeah.
the people who, like we were talking about though before, kind of a strategy that with the houses, there's more inventory that's sitting for days that you can make deals on right now, that it might not be that case 18 months from now if there's more buyers in the market because they can afford more.
Correct. Yes. I always tell people now, you can always get a lower rate if rates go down, right? But you can never renegotiate the price of the home that you pay, right? So if rates go down, if you buy a home at $800,000 now and rates go down, you refinance, get the lower rate. If you wait for rates to go down and the home prices increase, the give and take is almost the same, right? So if you wait a year and home prices then are 850, but now you're paying 5.5 for an interest rate, your payment's going to come out very similar, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. But now you get to live in Hawaii, that much sooner.
Exactly.
Right. And
Right.
there's more to choose from too. Because we talked about what happened, remember last time, what happened is that inventory started just like going away and then people were stuck with houses that weren't the perfect thing. So yeah.
Right.
It's that
Yeah.
some people would say, well, I'll just wait for 2 years. Like, well, that there's a cost of waiting as well.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. Home values, I get the rate of appreciation in Hawaii has been going through the roof over the last 3 years, 3 to 4 years, right? We're not seeing a market dip. We're starting to see a market correction where appreciation was 50% year over year. That's not sustainable. If it is, then we should all buy in Hawaii, right? Rate of appreciation should be more 4 to 8%,
Right.
right? That's a typical investment in real estate year over year. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing more of a market correction to the standard appreciation versus then the market just dipping, right? We don't have enough supply yet to validate home prices going down.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And except in, maybe HPP. So like when you have, or in Alihilani, when it's just, when you have a lot of inventory, less demand, you're going to have some prices going on there. So,
Right.
so
But things
does
are
the,
sitting a little bit, right? So,
they are.
and what's hard is people compare real estate over the last 3 to 5 years. That's not a normal market, right? I mean, things were flying. So everybody thinks that their homes, well, they see their neighbor that sold a home over the weekend. They had so many offers above and beyond, and it was gone, right? That is not a normal market. Now what we're seeing is more a stable market with more inventory coming on. We still don't have enough. However, more inventory, possibly people having to sell, unfortunately, in condo complexes that can't afford the HOA increase, will help kind of stabilize the market. And things typically will sell in 60 to 90 days in a normal market if you look over historic timeframes. But if you look over the last 5 years, things were gone in 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, we're going back to a kind of like a normal market. And that's kind of what the
Exactly.
Fed was wanting to do for us anyway, right? Like, let's take the steam off the kettle there and bring it down to people like, not racing out to try and buy homes. So, but it's
Right.
interesting. I mean, and again, like you said, you can't always know what's going to happen in the future, but the concept of it going maybe back down into the fours in the future, that seems like a unicorn experience.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay. And do you have any other like tips, tricks, and ideas on the old mortgage and concept of have you learned anything lately that you see that works for other people that people might want to consider, or what's anything to share?
Well, I've been having a lot of conversations with people that watch this recently, which is very encouraging, right? So a lot of people are starting to reach out to me thinking that there's going to be kind of a lull in the market. And then everybody's thinking there's going to be this pop, right? When rates start to go down, more people are going to come back into the market. So a lot of people are starting to get active. And a lot of people that watch this are starting to reach out to me. The fact that prices can be negotiated and seller concessions are huge, especially in an inflated rate market where if we can so seller concessions are asking the seller to pay either your closing cost or we can use that to buy down your interest rate. We can do different things like a temporary buy down, just kind of dependent on, the biggest thing that I'm talking to people now is not necessarily, I used to ask people how long they plan on living in the property, right? And that kind of helped me structure the mortgage. Now it's more so how long do they plan to be in the mortgage, right?
Mhm.
Because most of the people that are buying now, right now, I will tell them, you're probably not going to be in your mortgage long term. This is more a year to 2 years. If rates go down in 2026 and they're 4.5%, 5%, and we can refinance you, that's more the longer term mortgage, right? So it's leveraging what we can negotiate in this market to help benefit you over a 2 year period of time, knowing that you're probably not going to be in this mortgage long term.
There you go.
That's really what I get excited looking at, because again, it's how we can leverage money and financing to have the most bang for its buck for people that are looking to buy.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's great. And that's another thing, now that I'm getting near retirement age, I should of course have, like, like financial advisors are key in life, because there's shit that no one knows besides people who are professional working it every single day. It's like real estate and everything else. But having someone like you work the numbers and say, okay, these are the scenarios. How can we do this? How can we do this? That you could never figure out for yourself because you're not in it. So having you being able to be there to help people figure this stuff out. And like, also, I mean, because you deal with so many different people from different walks of life, you got retirees, you got first time home buyers, you got all the people, so many different tricks that are really going to help people. And I think that some people are afraid to pick up the phone and talk to a mortgage counselor, or a mortgage guy, because they don't think they're going to get the counseling, that you are going to say, I'm trying to put you in a mortgage tomorrow. That's not the case. And that's why I like about having Joe, if you guys are watching this, he helps you, even if you're 2 to 5 years out, get a game plan. And that way you can start planning. So maybe you call Joe today and we're talking about the rates going down a little bit. Hey, get your stuff together so you're ready to jump when that starts to happen. Or maybe he can get you into a position where you can buy sooner and take advantage of a softening market. So, really it's about reaching out to people who are just a little bit more smarter than yourself. So thank you, Joe, for doing that for our group here, because that helps put the people in homes. So it helps us too.
Right. I'm definitely not smarter, but I can think of different things out of the box, because I will tell you right now, a lot of people even some people that I'm helping in Hawaii, if I tell them, if I can get you in the rate in the fives, would you buy now? Most people honestly say yes. And I say that's honestly possible, right? If we can get some seller concessions to do a permanent buy down or a temporary 2-1 buy down, 3-1 buy down, you can have a starting rate in the fours, right? So there are different ways to make it affordable. Right now, with the leverage that we have, like everybody asks me, when is a good time to buy? And I tell everybody, if I have to convince you to buy real estate, that's not my job. I will never want to do that. If you don't understand it, it's appreciating asset and it'll help you build wealth. And if you would have told me is a good time to buy when you have to overpay for a property by 80 to 60 to $80,000 even to get your offer looked at, but get an interest rate in the threes, I would have told you you're crazy. Versus if you get an interest rate in the sevens, but you can negotiate seller concessions and maybe a lesser price. There's never a right or wrong time to buy real estate, right? It's just, number one, you have to make sure that you can afford it. And I get that, right? Affordability is the biggest issue hitting Americans right now.
Yeah.
But there's different ways that we can negotiate it and leverage this opportunity for you in real estate now to make it affordable. We can.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then back to the whole group. Remove spotlight. I'm trying to be the the coordinator here. Janna and Amber or Eric, do you guys have any questions for Joe, or where are you guys seeing are you guys like Janna said that she's seen a lot of cash buyers, but what's happening for you guys? Who are you seeing where they need?
I would just echo what you said, Julie, about not hesitating to reach out to a lender like Joe. I think in the state of Hawaii, it really works to buyers' advantage to do that sooner than later. Even if you're not planning on buying right now, even if, a lot of people, I think, get really, really wary about their financials, or like they're very worried about like a hard credit ding or something like that. But I know when I bought my first house, like I remember thinking I should have reached out sooner. And it's good just to know what you need to do, especially in Hawaii when your job might be relocating. It's good to have that kind of information. And there's a lot of properties that are disqualified by certain loan programs that you might be going for. So I really, really encourage people, it's never too early to reach out to a lender.
Right.
So, and
Right.
Joe,
hmm
I heard that the interest rates are already starting to go down a little bit. What is the current rate right now? Right. I mean, roughly. I mean, I know you.
Yeah, so right now you're looking, dependent on the program, your credit score, how much you put down, like FHA's low sixes, conventional, you're looking to mid to high sixes currently.
So it's already started coming down.
Correct, in anticipation of a future rate cut, probably a little bit sooner than everybody originally expected.
There we go.
Mhm.
And the top of the rate was what, like an 8%?
Yeah, that's what I tell everybody. Honestly, if you're waiting for rates to go down, rates have gone down since October, November of 2023, over a full percent.
Yeah. Yeah. That was that was a great way to put a freaking break on the old market there.
Mhm.
And they did what they said they wanted to do, and then with the inflation thing. So, and again, like when Amber, I just specifically remember Amber saying, it's what 2 or 3 years ago, Amber would say, "Oh, the prices went up 50% year over year," and now they're like, like 10, 15, $20,000, which is like about average of what Americans are expecting for their housing prices to go up year over year. So we have normalized the market. So yeah, I think when the crazy gets out of a market, it helps buyers as well. So and Janna, do you have anything about what you're seeing out there too?
Yeah, I would say, along the same lines, in Hawaii, there's a lot of listing agents who will put right in their listing, if you want to submit an offer, you need to have a pre-qual letter. And that I don't know how common that is everywhere, but it's very common here. So, like Amber said, start sooner rather than later, because there is definitely some pre-qual requirements written into the Hawaii contract. And then one more thing in that vein, in our Hawaii contract, there are also things that the lender is required to do for the Hawaii contract that they aren't necessarily used to on the mainland. So, if I say, Joe, I need, I need my letter 14 days before that says everything's fine. That might be something that Joe knows all about in our contract, but a banker on the mainland doesn't know what that is, and they're not going to do that. And it's in our contract. So I would say definitely be ready, be prepared before you even submit an offer. You need to have a pre-qual if you're going to do financing, and if you're not going to do financing, you need to have some proof of funds, because that needs to go with your offer.
Yeah. And you know what, we have to talk about, and maybe we do this in a different venue or do it like, because a month from now, on our third Thursday, will be August 15th, and on August 16th, 17th, everything's going to change in the real estate industry, and buyers are going to have to maybe bring in their own cash to close a deal, because commissions are doing some different things, according to the National Association of Realtors lawsuit that is now being settled, and everything. Our contracts are changing. You're not going to see what the other side is going to be able to offer in terms of commission off of the MLSs. That will no longer be legal. And it's going to be a law, you guys, where you're going to have to sign a buyer's agreement to be able to see an open house with any real estate agent in America. So it's going to change, and it'll be interesting for people like Joe when buyers have to come in maybe with some of their own money to help pay for the commissions of the people that are doing the work for them. And what we've been talking about is the fact that sellers thinking that they're only going to have to give a certain percentage just to list the house. They're going to have to pay a marketing fee to get the buyers to want to come in and look at their house. And so it's going to be interesting how this is going to shake out. It's going to be interesting, I think, for most of the fall. So, right. I mean, Amber and Janna and Eric, right. It's just going to be, we don't know how this is all going to shake out. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Joe, I don't know if you
everybody that I have been showing with a buyer's agreement, to say, hey, I need you to sign a buyer's agreement now. Everybody understands that. I have not had any issues at all. I don't know how you guys have experienced that, but I had never done it before. I just would show houses, and now it's required to show houses that you have this buyer's representation agreement. And I've already started doing it and had no issues whatsoever.
Yeah. But I think that there's some buyers who are going to say, show me a house. It's like, I'm gonna have to show you this piece of paper. You're gonna get a chance to, like look at it. So when the things that we're gonna do, probably if you guys want to like, be part of this, is that after they get the standard forms done, the Hawaii Association of Realtors is doing this, not across the country, but we'll get those standard forms probably released. Probably like, I don't know, the 10th of August, and we can go over what some of the changes are. If you guys want to know about that stuff, and how it might affect, that's how this is all going to go. We all don't kind of understand, but I was going to ask Joe, what happens when a buyer has to come in with, part of the commission to help pay for their agents. And so, you haven't had to do that before, I'm sure, even though theoretically everything's negotiable. And if you sign a buyer's agreement, that's always been kind of the case. In case the seller doesn't want to offer full commission, then the buyer can ask you, or the buyer's agent can say, hey, I need you to kind of kick in here for my time. Have you actually had to work with that yet?
I haven't. I've had a ton of conversations with real estate agents all over the country, right, on what's going to happen. There's nothing really set in stone. However, I don't know if much really is going to change from what I hear. It's just you're not able to advertise that you would pay a buyer's commission on an MLS. But there's different ways from a lending perspective that, okay, if they're not going to pay a buyer's agent, right, then we can negotiate them to pay your seller or your closing cost, which then would net you coming in with the same amount of money, depending on how much you got to pay for your buyer's agent, right? Or just a lower price, things like that. So there are different strategies that I have been kind of thinking and kind of brainstorming through on how to not negatively impact some of the buyers that we have. Although if they're not willing to do certain things from the seller's perspective, then it's going to hit some people, right? So it's just something that we would, again, start having conversations about sooner rather than later with an agent, with a lender, so that we can accurately get a game plan for you when the time comes.
Okay. So we're going to focus on this experience, the next TT&T, and also the seller concession aspect of being able to cover. So I want to know if a lender gives you, they usually take over the title and leasing and things like when they hand you money, right? Can they hand you enough money to then pay your agent with you? I mean, is that, you can do that? Okay. So you can actually take the money and hand it to an agent from a mortgage standpoint. Okay. I'll make sure that's all okay. Because usually it goes right into the house and it's like, you get both the lease and everything else, or, the title. So, okay. Well, I mean, and I think it's this is all going to go in a very interesting way that still, I think people are going to buy houses, people are going to sell houses, and they need agents. So, yeah. Okay. Well, then we'll wrap this one up. And if anybody has any questions, Kevin's online. I don't think he's probably just taking this all in. But if you guys do have questions about any of this, who are watching us on YouTube, again, please put questions in the description below, and you can reach out to Joe directly. And also Amber and Janna, I'm putting their contact information in the description below so you can check it out. And also, we're going to do kind of we're going to try and make this work. Take the transcript, run it through ChatGPT, give you guys the sticking points of what it is that we all discuss. So every single month that you can come, and if you don't want to listen to all the conversation, you can read through a really quick little update and then get the idea of it, and then go and find it in the video to get more information about that. Like if you just want to get the East update, or if you want to just do Kohala. So we're trying to make this using technology a little easier for all of you guys to get the information you need. So with that, we would say aloha, and thank you for joining us for our July update. And you guys will see you guys next month. Okay.
Aloha.